Wagwan everybody! Today we'll focus on one of the decisions made by Jimmy Pegorino in GTA 4. More precisely, the one that decided the fate of Ray Boccino, one of the capos in Jimmy's mafia. We'll look at all the pros and cons of this decision and we'll make a conclusion whether it was the right one. Before anything though, let's recall the whole thread. Remember that you can always skip this section by using the chapters displayed on the video's timeline. So let's start with the basic info. Jimmy Pegorino was the don of the Pegorino mafia family, which operated in Alderney City. Jimmy's family was one of the less significant mafias in the city. Pegorino desperately wanted to change that, and during the events of GTA 4, he's trying hard to find a way for his organization to get to the so-called commission. The commission consisted of the 5 strongest mafia families in town, and their task was to eliminate any conflicts between any of the Italian families. They were peacekeepers, if you will. Obviously, for a family to take a seat in the commission was a big honor. It meant massive reputation, respect, and a significant influence on the city's criminal underworld. Going back to Jimmy, he had 2 important people below him. Phil Bell, who was a loyal and long-serving associate of the family, who would probably be given a capo role had he not been 90% Irish. Capo being a highly ranked member of a mafia family, and to be called this title, more time you have to have Italian origins. The second of Jimmy's men was Ray Boccino. Ray was a lot more ambitious, but also more self-centered and less trustworthy than Phil. However, he did generate bigger profits, and that earned him a role of a capo in Pegorino's family. At some point, Jimmy's organization faced serious problems with the feds, who seemed to be one step away from gaining evidence that would allow them to arrest Jimmy and his men. And then Pegorino panicked a bit and began suspecting a rat in anyone. He was already paranoid since not long ago, Anthony, his personal bodyguard, turned out to be wearing a wire. Pegorino wanted to get rid of someone, just for the sake of it. He claims that he has to show people that he means business.
I gotta shut someone up and show people I mean business!
Create an impression that he's got things under control, and killing one of his men would certainly imitate that. In the end, he decides to send Niko to kill Ray Boccino. That obviously later did not help, as Pegorino still faced legal problems afterwards anyway. Let's first try to justify Pegorino's decision, so to list all the reasons that make this decision sensible. We'll begin with the question from the title. Was Ray actually a snitch, and was he given information about the Pegorino family to the police? And the answer is, we do not know for sure. There is no evidence in the game that Ray was ratting on Pegorino to the police. However, there are things that may suggest it. Like for example the fact that Ray Boccino at some point had serious problems with the police himself. Most likely it all started from him. He was the first one from the Pegorino mafia that was closely monitored by the local law authorities. He mentions that he's got serious trouble with the police in the bad standing mission from the GTA The Lost and Damned.
Yeah, how you doing?
How am I doing? I got the feds all over me.
In the same DLC, at the very end, Thomas Stubbs, the congressman of Liberty City, tells Johnny Klebit that the police are very close to arresting Ray and some of his associates, most likely Phil Bell and James Pegorino, who were actually later served papers as stated by Jimmy himself in the pest control mission.
Maybe you heard, I got served papers today. Phil yesterday.
What I'm trying to say is that Ray was most likely aware of how far things gone, and that either him, Phil and Pegorino are soon going to be arrested. Since Ray was a selfish guy, it would make sense if he turned state and tried to save himself by ratting out Peg and Phil, knowing that they would probably get arrested sooner or later anyway. Was Pegorino aware of it, and did he even consider it? Obviously not. Just have a listen to his in-depth analysis of whether Ray deserved to be killed.
Then there's Ray. I don't know. I don't trust him.
Simply genius. Even Niko is in absolute disbelief over the sheer incompetence of that prat. Sorry about that. I forgot that I was meant to defend his decision for now. But don't worry, we'll get to the counter-arguments part soon. So we don't know whether Ray was actually a rat. However, Rockstar gives us a very subtle hint here. See, Ray's surname, Boccino, in Italian means simply a snitch. I personally do not consider it as a proper argument, however it is a bit of a hint from the developers towards what could be the truth. Now let's talk about Ray's personality, as for me it could have had a significant influence on Pegorino's decision. We can find out a lot of things about what Ray is like from other characters. For instance, Paki describes him as cheeky and greedy.
First off, I don't trust this guinea for a second. Oh yeah, Ray Boccino's a slimy motherfucker. The one thing you can rely on him for is greed.
Ray was capable of deceiving people if it meant that he was gonna make a solid profit off it. This trait could be one of the elements that made Pegorino suspicious of him. In fact, Pegorino was well aware that Ray's full of crap, and that his kneeling and gifts, like in the Pegorino's Pride mission, were just for a show. And he was quite right. Listen to how Ray describes his boss in TLAD.
I got a boss who's a paranoid wreck, and I got a guy above me in the food chain with a brain like an overcooked artichoke.
Pegorino even directly says to Niko that he doesn't trust Ray, or even calls him a talented snake.
I wonder, is it better to have a talented snake or a stoical lion who's gonna be cut down in his prime?
So Ray was a kind of a guy that was ready to pretend a bit or to deceive someone just to get himself more money and respect. Ray was very ambitious, and he cared little about who he hurt on his way to the top. Pegorino was aware of that, as well as of the fact that Ray's quiet objective was to eventually replace Jimmy at the Don's position, which could have also been Jimmy's additional motivation to choose to get rid of Ray.
I know he's got his eye on the big prize, but he's no dummy.
You know, something similar to how Sonny Forelli wanted to kill Tommy 15 years prior to the GTA Vice City story because he feared that Tommy may want to replace him at the leader's position. Going back to Ray being very capable of deceiving others, I could even venture a guess that Ray tried to deceive Pegorino during the events of the game. I'm sure you remember the whole diamonds affair in GTA 4. Ray wanted to steal the diamonds from Tony Prince and then sell it with a profit to Jewish mobsters. The thing is, as we can tell by the conversation between Ray and Phil in the No Way on the Subway mission, Ray never informed Pegorino about his plan, which strongly suggests that he was trying to make himself some side profit without having to pay the mafia a cut.
The boss has got to get paid, even when people forget to tell him about things they're working on.
Don't bust my balls. What's the point of talking about things unless they become real?
It would greatly fit his greedy and sly personality, but obviously the plan failed because of the lack of loyalty of the people that Ray hired. I'm mainly talking about Johnny Klebit here, who took the money for the diamonds for himself, with the diamonds themselves ending up being stolen back by Tony Prince's bodyguard. So this whole diamond huff-up could have definitely been one of the reasons for which Pegorino decided on killing Ray. Not only he did not initially inform him about this money-making opportunity, but also he did not pick his employees carefully enough, because of which he ended up with no money or diamonds anyway. So he only generated losses for the organization. Another thing that could have posed a problem in Jimmy's mind was the beef between Phil and Ray. And actually throughout the whole thread, the two seemed to be on really good terms. Of course, sometimes they would have a dig at each other, but it seemed pretty harmless and even friendly. However, in the pest control mission, things don't look as colorful as before. It seems as if both tried to blame the other one for the legal problems that the mafia was facing.
I gotta tell you this, he's not straight. Right before I came in here, I saw him talking to Angie again.
Pegorino even states they hate each other.
Him and Phil hate each other.
And similarly to the beef between Vincenzo and Tony Cipriani in GTA LCS, it could work well or bad. It would work well if the motivation of the two would be to prove to their boss who is better, who can make more money, make better decisions, etc, etc. Essentially, as long as it would be a harmless competition that would only work as a motivation for both sides, it would be cool. However, as we see on DiVincenzo's example, such a competition can very quickly get out of hand and lead to one party trying to kill another or trying to mess up the other's business, which would obviously hurt the whole mafia's business, plus it would distract the offensive party from the usual business that also are meant to bring profits to the family. I doubt it, but Pegorino could have technically thought about such an outcome, and therefore that is an argument that definitely supports his case, as by killing Ray, he would also get rid of the conflict. That would be it as for the arguments that reason Peg's decision. However, are they strong enough to say that it was the right call to make? Because at the end of the day, like I said, there was no direct evidence that Ray was a snitch. Actually, the things I listed out probably do make Ray a suspect, however, they are very far from proving anything. Pegorino's analysis seems just so simple and forced. After all, Ray was a good earner. He generated a lot of money for the mafia and he was an important piece in Jimmy's puzzle. Logically thinking, to get rid of him, you'd really need a strong reason, because killing Ray meant significantly less money for the mafia. Having so little information and essentially no proof of Ray's guilt, it was a stupid decision to have him killed. Pegorino did that because, as mentioned earlier, he reckoned that he had to do something about the fact that his mafia's having problems with the feds. Not necessarily to fix the issue, but just solely to create an impression that he's got things under control. I think that was Pegorino's main problem. He cared way more about what other people will think about his organization and the decision that he makes, rather than to actually listen to yourself and do the right thing, even if some people would consider it weird or wrong. Cause the truth is that if you let your actions to be dictated by other people's opinions and judgments, you'll never achieve anything. It seems like it that if you are gonna do what other people would expect or what other people consider as normal, you would always have respect because nobody can judge you because you're just so normal. In reality though, it works completely differently. You have to listen to your heart, do what you feel, what you think is right. And even if people will look at you weird at first, once your weird actions lead you to success, that's when you gain respect. That's when you become valuable because what you did was unique and so not everyone will be able to replicate it. And Pegorino did not understand that. All the time he would constantly talk about reputation, what other families think about him, that they need to impress this family, that family, the commission. He cared about everybody else's opinion but his own. Instead of doing what he thought that other would find natural and as a right thing to do, he should have focused on growing his organization in his own ways. If he would get successful, that's when he would gain the respect that he strived for so much. And as it is, despite him so desperately trying to do what others think is right in order to gain their respect, in reality, the commission considered his family just a joke, and probably rightly so.
So you're the one who's getting involved with that nonsense for my dear friend James Pegorino. Our mutual friend told me everything. Thank you. It made me
Killing Ray was something that was meant to only show people that apparently Peg has everything under control, that he knows what he's doing and that he dealt with a problem. While in reality, he did not fix any problem. He just killed one of the most important members of his organization just because of a few personality traits, a couple of mistakes, and this whole speculation about him squealing under the Fed's pressure, which Jimmy probably didn't even consider. So what Jimmy should have done? Kill Phil? Kill someone else? What was the right decision to make? Well, killing Phil would be even more absurd than killing Ray. Phil was a long-serving and loyal worker who did not really give any signs that would hint at him having anything to do with the police. For me, he was straight.
Maybe he's too straight.
Jimmy was probably right to suspect Ray. However, before deciding to have him killed, he should have tried investigating his business to at least find some evidence for his guilt. Without that, Ray was too important to be killed just for a show-off or because of a little suspicion. So, to summarize, Peg was too bothered by everybody else's opinions, which caused his actions to be dictated by what other people will think or say. Instead, he should have believed more in his own judgment, even if he was to turn a few heads. Killing Ray was meant to create an impression that he's got things under control and was completely unjustified, as he had no proof for Ray's guilt. we can't be certain whether Ray was a snitch or not, but that don't even matter here, as Jimmy just did not have any evidence and very few rational reasons to have Ray killed. And all he done by this was just that he got rid of one of the most important members of his organization. Let me know if you agree. Was Pegorino's decision correct? I'm waiting for your opinions in the comments. Thank you for watching. Respect.